Hey guys, Coach Mac, playfastfootball.blogspot.com. Been a while since I did any video shoots. We've been involved in spring ball the entire month of May, and a lot of stuff going on, and taking care of our practices and film work and playing our game last Friday. So I just wanted to get back on, talk a little bit about some of the things we did, some of the things we were able to do. We did a blog last week about our spring installation. I'd like to go a little bit further into that. Just talking about some of the things we were able to do in the game, what we got accomplished, and how we got it accomplished, and how many days we had to do it. You can see on the board up here, I've got our running game and passing game that we put in the spring. And the important thing here is in the spring practice, getting ready for the game, we only had 8 full offensive practices. So we had 8 full offensive days, and then we had 7 or 8 defensive days. And what we were able to do is on those defensive days at the end of practice, we used about a 20-minute session to install what we were going to put in next for the offensive day. But in general, we only had 8 full offensive days, and I just want to talk to you about what we were able to do in those 8 days and why I think we were able to do it. If you can see on the running game side, all right, we were able to run veer with key screens. We were able to run veer kick with the sniffer. We were able to run veer bluff with the sniffer. We were able to run our jet power read stuff. We were able to run our quarterback counter, and then we were also able to run our read draw, all right, off of the stick concept in the throw game. We were able to run the read draw. In the passing game, we were able to throw our quick game combinations. We were able to throw 5-step curl flat. We were able to throw 5-step 3-man snag. We were able to throw a play action concept, stand-up screens, bubble screens, and we had 1 slow screen in. Okay, so take a look at all those things that are on the board. Those are things that we were able to get in 8 practices, and we were able to get them ready for our spring game last Friday night. Okay, now, in that spring game last Friday night, we scored 49 points in the first half, and we had 420 yards of offense in the first half. Our quarterback was 7 for 7 for 130 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he also ran for 102 yards and a touchdown. So not only were we able to get all these things in, but we were able to get them in pretty effectively. Okay? Now, one of the things that helps with that is the tempo and being no huddle and the communication, and then the carryover in the system from last year to this year, and what our kids already know and how we communicate that information to our kids. So not only do we get that information and those plays in, but we didn't cram it all in to where everything looked like an absolute mess. We were able to get it in and be fairly extremely effective on Friday night. Okay? Now, the important thing to know is that on Friday night, we scored on veer with a key screen. We scored on a veer kick. Okay? We scored on a jet power read. We scored on a quarterback counter. We scored on a quick game. We scored on a 5-step curl flat. We scored on a 5-step 3-man snag, and we also scored on a play action pass. Okay? So in Friday night spring game, we were able to score on 8 different play calls. In 3 weeks of practice and 8 offensive practices, we were able to score touchdowns on 8 different play calls. Okay? We also had 7 different players score touchdowns. So it's not like we had one guy that we threw to and ran the ball every time. It's not like we had one tailback that had 5 touchdowns. We had 7 different players score our 8 touchdowns. Okay? So what you're looking at here is not only what we were able to get done, but how we were able to do it. Being up-tempo and being no huddle allows you to do a lot of those things because you're getting more reps in practice. So in our 15-minute team segments, we're running 20 to 25 plays in those 15-minute segments. Okay? One of the things that also helps is we decided to do nothing but work our offense against our defense in the spring game, and we didn't even really care what our opponent was going to do. We repped our offense against our defense, so we didn't have to worry about scout cards. We ran all of our plays every day against our own defense and against our own offense. Okay, so we were able to install, all right, our run game, our veer, our jet power read, our quarterback counter, and our read draw, and we were able to install our quick game, 2 5-step combos, a play action series, a stand-up screen, a bubble screen, and a slow screen, and we were able to run those things fairly effective Friday night. Okay, so my message to you is it's all about the system you're running and not the individual plays that you're calling. How you set your system up How do you communicate your formations? How do you communicate your tempo? What are your play calls? Okay, what is the carryover in schemes? Is there a carryover in your run game from, down gap schemes, power schemes, counter schemes? All right, those are all carryovers. Is there a carryover in your redraw to where you're blocking it like one of your protections, but just turning it into a run ID so your kids can run block it, but ID it the same way you ID one of your pass protections, so there's a carryover. All right, is there a carryover in your quick game concepts? 2 5-step combinations, okay? Your play action pass, stand up, bubble, slow screens. And what you'll be able to find is if there's carryover in your schemes, you can teach a lot of things in a relatively short amount of time if you consistently teach them, okay? If you have a method to what you're trying to accomplish and you're not just throwing it all on a wall and seeing what sticks. We start every single practice on an offensive day with a 25-minute meeting in a locker room, okay? We meet as a team for 25 minutes in the locker room before we ever go on the field, and we talk about what we're going to install that day. We also end our defensive practices with a 20-minute install, okay? So basically, before we ever get to practice, we've had a 45-minute install, chalk talk, walk, out on the field, walkthroughs, all right, chalk talks, videos from maybe last year. So we've had 45 minutes of work before we ever go on the field that day to practice that concept, all right? So I think a lot of times guys get confused sometimes and they say, well, in the spring we can only get in 1 or 2 runs and maybe 1 or 2 pass plays. I don't think it has to be that way. I think you can get in everything you want to get in if there's some type of carryover from previous year and if there's some type of carryover between your schemes, okay? So identifying your system that you want to run and having a system that you run from year to year is way more important than the actual plays you run. We've been in this system now for about 1.5 years, all right, maybe going back to 2 springs and now about almost 2 seasons worth of work. Our numbers have been phenomenal on the offensive side of the ball, and I'm even happier with the operating procedure of how the offense operates. We didn't have a delay of game the other night. We didn't have an offsides penalty the other night. We did not have 12 men on the field the other night. So our standard operating procedure with how we're communicating plays, how we're playing at a fast tempo, and how we're getting personnel on and off the field is every bit as important as these plays that we're actually running. Okay, so again, remember, keep in mind what we're trying to do here. We're trying to play as fast as we possibly can, and we're trying to eliminate the thinking that the kids have to go through to execute their assignments. How do we do that? We have to have a system. Our system has to have communication. We have to have a method of teaching, okay? But what we're finding now is now that we've refined our system and we've got something that we like, okay, and now that I've done my homework at looking at some of the other schools around that are really good every year, I figured out that you have to have something that you do every year that you get good at, and you have to have something you hang your hat on. So now that we figured that out and we got a system, now all we're doing is we're just taking our new players every year and we're just plugging them into our system. And we're teaching it faster, we're teaching it more effective, okay? And it's still, all right, all the same stuff that we're running still was as effective Friday night as it was last year. So it's not like saying you have to change everything because everybody has your film and they know you're going to run jet power read, they know you're going to run veer. It really doesn't matter if they know it or not, they still have to line up and stop it. Okay, so the system that you're running, all right, how you're communicating and practicing that system, and how you're executing that system is way more important than the actual individual plays that you're running. Okay? Those of you guys or anybody up north on Long Island, I'll be in Valley Stream on June 10th, 11th, and 12th at Valley Stream Central High School, my alma mater, where I played my high school football. I'll be doing a clinic there on June 10th, 11th, and 12th. We'll be doing mostly offensive work. We'll be talking about all our up-tempo stuff. There'll be a lot of jet game, our jet power read, our quarterback counters, and some play actions off the jet involved. So if any of you guys are fans and you're up on the Long Island or in the New York area and you want to maybe swing by that clinic, it's going to be relatively cheap. It's going to be about, $40 a man for 2.5 days of football. I'll have some run cut-ups on DVDs that I can show you from last year. I'll be watching some of our huddle highlights, and that'll also be helping Valley Stream Central break down some of their opponents and how we can attack those defensive structures that they're going to see in the upcoming season. All right, so if you're up there, if you're on Long Island, or if you're in Jersey or somewhere nearby, you think you can get there and you're interested, contact me through the blog site, through my email. It's sting8740@gmail.com. Give me a shot on my email, let me know, and I'll tell you when and where and the exact address of the school, and we'll try and hook this thing up and get it going. All right, as always, guys, remember, can't play good unless you play fast.